you realize that we are dealing with the death of a young man who was discovered Saturday evening. We had a news conference yesterday asking for the public's help so we could identify this child. And right now, that is the number one point of this investigation, to find out who this child is. At this point, we still do not have that information. So despite the numerous news articles and TV coverage and social media posts, we don't have that answer. And that is our number one goal at this point, is to find out the identity and the name of this child. And he deserves, to be heard.
Welcome back, guys. My name is Eurus. I am currently held captive in an undisclosed European country, and I'm forced to produce shitty true crime content. Please help me. Hello again, guys. Welcome back to the Solvable Mysteries podcast. We are rolling again, and we have a pretty interesting topic today to talk about. And before we get into it, I want to quickly mention a few things. One of the things that I want to definitely put out there is that this episode is probably going to have a little bit of a different structure. I will not go into the whole early portion of the podcast 10-minute intro thing. I don't want to do it anymore because I feel like it was essentially why I came up with that intro in the first place. Was when we were doing the show with Glenn. I wanted to make sure that I definitely get the whole picture out there for the audience before we kind of have our casual discussion, because we kind of, back in the day when we did the podcast, we tried to basically tell the story as we go, but it would never really work because we would kind of start talking about some unrelated things usually. And so it would get choppy and messy. So that whole 10-minute to 15-minute intro portion was an amazing thing when this podcast had two people. But since I'm alone and I'm just talking to the mic, I could actually just go through the story step by step. And just in general, the preparation for the podcast is a lot easier this way. And I would say definitely more enjoyable. So probably that's what I'm going to be doing moving forward. If you guys missed that intro or you think that was a very good thing, please let me know in the comments of the YouTube channel and I'll bring it back for sure. Or at least I'll consider it, because doing that intro is definitely time consuming, and I want to spend more time actually investigating the crime rather than worrying about how I'm going to present the whole story. So that's just a little bit of housekeeping right there. And I guess let's jump into today's topic. When I was looking for cases to talk about this week, I was thinking I want to look into some more maybe big picture mysteries. I was looking at, in particular, the mystery of Lake Vostok, and I was certain I was going to be talking about that. It's basically this subglacial lake in Antarctica, and the Russians have been drilling down into the lake, because the lake itself is hidden under 4 kilometers of ice, and the Russians have been drilling for a while, and they tried to reach the water, but they stopped 100 meters, I believe, before reaching the surface of the water. And I was looking at some mystery lists, and I was brainstorming what to talk about for this week's show, and it seemed to be some sort of a mystery revolving there. And I was certain I was going to cover that case, but then I was looking more into it, and apparently the whole mystery was that the Russians apparently found some sort of a like ancient squid that has mind control capability. So immediately I knew this was bullshit, and I had to like reverse course. But I also didn't want to do like a very like deep case as well, and something maybe more relevant to the current times, something that I would really see a purpose in talking about, and I think I've succeeded, because I want to talk about this very dark and sick mystery that I've been looking at for the last few days. It's about a boy who was found in a suitcase in rural Indiana. Police are urging the public to help them identify a little boy mysteriously found dead in a suitcase in a wooded area of a small town called New Pekin in rural Indiana. State police were called to investigate the suitcase after a Sellersburg resident named Jeff Meredith, who was mushroom hunting, discovered the suitcase on April 16th and immediately called 911. We actually have a clip that I'm gonna play pretty shortly, where Jeff Meredith, the man who found this suitcase, describes his feelings and I guess talks a little bit about like the day when he found the suitcase as well. Speaking about the suitcase itself, it is very distinctive. It has the message, quote, "Welcome to fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada," end quote, written on top of it. And it seems like something you would probably get when you go to like a trip to Las Vegas. It has a very touristy vibe to it, and people who want to check it out, you could definitely check the YouTube channel for the visuals. I feel like if you would notice someone with a suitcase, you would definitely remember it, seeing someone with that, because I don't think a lot of people have this particular suitcase. Indiana State Police also said the boy was found in a wooded area of New Pekin around the 7,000 block of East Holder Road, near a roadway. According to police, the suitcase was sealed and was about 80 feet, which converts to around 24 meters, away from the roadway when it was discovered. We actually have some map analysis as well regarding this local area, so we will be jumping to that shortly as well. The boy that was discovered inside of that suitcase is about 5 years of age. He's black and about 4 feet tall in height, with a slender build and a short haircut. At the time when he was discovered, he was clothed. He had clothing on top of him, on him, you know what I mean? And he was clean when he was found. The boy's teeth were in good condition. He appeared to be well cared for. I've read a CNN article that stated that the boy's age could be estimated between the ages of 5 to 8. However, when I listened to a few interviews from ISP, Indiana State Police, the same, I guess, institution that handles the infamous Delphi murders case, there's just a bunch of crap happening in Indiana. Let's face it, like Indiana is a Wild West type of a state for sure. So CNN stated that the age range could be from 5 to 8, but police are now stating that the boy is definitely closer to age 5. Also, it's worth mentioning that law enforcement has not released a sketch of the boy, so we only have his physical description. We do not have an actual visual to go with that. I'm not sure when police is gonna release that. We will listen to a clip shortly where the detective in this case explains the police's reasoning for not disclosing of the sketch or any sort of images. No trauma was found on the boy's body, and a toxology report came back negative. So I've done a Google search regarding what a toxology report actually is and what does it mean when a toxology report comes out negative. So I've read this, I found this write-up. To be specific, a toxology report, which is also referred to as the expert statement, is a document detailing the detection, isolation, and identification of chemicals, toxins, or poisons in a given sample. So I believe what this means, that the toxology report came out negative, means that the boy did not possess, his body did not possess any sort of chemicals, toxins, or poisons. Police will not disclose the description of the clothing he was wearing, as it could lead to an influx of incorrect tips. An autopsy revealed that the boy had died of an electrolyte imbalance. The electrolyte imbalance was likely caused by viral gastroenteritis, otherwise known as the stomach flu. And as we all know, the stomach flu leads to vomiting and diarrhea, and it eventually leads to dehydration. When I was looking at this case and I was reading some articles, I think the official version in some of them is stated that the boy, the cause of his death was actually dehydration. I think the electrolyte imbalance is maybe just a scientific legal term that they used. An electrolyte imbalance is essentially caused when you lose a large amount of body fluids. For example, if you are sweating or vomiting too much, it can lower the levels of some electrolytes in the body. Not eating and drinking enough is one of the causes of electrolyte imbalance as well. So now that we think about it, this boy is found in a suitcase, and his official cause of death is electrolyte imbalance. And it's usually, well, it says here, I'm reading it online, it says here that not eating and drinking will lead to this. So essentially, the little boy, he is sick, and it appears that someone has placed him in a suitcase and left the suitcase in the middle of a wooded place in rural Indiana. Police said the autopsy report also indicated there were no significant traumatic injuries. Detectives also believe he was already dead when he was stuffed inside the hard-shell suitcase, once again with the Las Vegas design on the front and back. Police said he likely died less than a week before the suitcase was found, and the suitcase was found on April 16th, and it was a Saturday. So moving back the timeline a little bit, that would mean that the boy had most likely died somewhere around April 10th, April 11th, something around that time frame. Investigators have worked with several outside agencies. During this investigation, numerous tips have been called into the nationwide tip line, and detectives have not been able to identify the boy. Investigators are not ruling out the possibility that the child could be from out of state or even out of the country. Police continue to ask for the public's assistance, hoping someone who recognizes the suitcase or knows of a missing child matching the description will come forward. Investigators are thankful for all the tips that are coming in, but ask that the public not send information on children already documented as missing at this time. Investigators say those cases are already being looked into. Indiana State Police told the media that they had already contacted schools and other local agencies to inquire about a child who didn't show up for school, presumably, but there haven't been any matches. Indiana State Police Sergeant Carrie Hulls said the most common tip is that an unidentified boy could possibly be Cody Bigsby, I'm sorry, probably Cody Bigsby, a 4-year-old boy missing from Hampton, Virginia. Even though there is no link between the separate cases, the detective's quote is, quote, "We still repeatedly get calls in reference to Cody Bigsby from Virginia, even though we've made that public that it does not appear to be a match," end quote, detective told the media last week. Quote, "We still get that particular Cody Bigsby tip over and over again, more than any other tip, even though we've said we're not looking in that direction." And I did a little bit of digging into the Cody Bigsby case. I'm going to talk a little bit about it a little bit later on in the podcast. Indiana State Police Sergeant Carrie Hulse, during a press conference, bluntly said, quote, "Somebody knows something. He didn't put himself in that suitcase. Somebody did. Somebody out there has first-hand knowledge on what happened in the situation, and we need that person to come forward," end quote. Todd Murphy, who is the sheriff's department's chaplain, said, quote, "This little boy wasn't respected in life, and we, the Washington County, want to make sure he's respected in death," end quote. A memorial service for the boy was held on Wednesday, June 1st, so basically just a few days ago, at the Weather Funeral Home in the town of Salim. I'm not really sure how you pronounce that. And lastly, anyone with information that could help identify the child is encouraged to call Detective Matt Busick with the Indiana State Police in Sellersburg at the numbers that I'm showing on the screen on the YouTube channel, and you can find them in the description of this podcast as well. Okay, we are rolling now. I'm sharing my screen, so that's why we have this little maybe change in audio or whatever. Maybe not. I just quickly want to mention I did look into, well, obviously I made the episode, so I know how it looked. I made the episode last week, and the map was all over the place, and yeah, it's basically some settings, and hopefully this week, it's definitely better. I'm trying to record this at 60 frames per second, which basically means that the actual video is a lot nicer, and it's not as choppy. Obviously, I hope it's like that. It could be completely shitty, like it was last week. Hopefully, it will be a little bit better. And I think for this portion of the podcast, I definitely want to go over some other things that I found interesting. Let's just quickly look at the map. And I think the map is telling here because to really understand this case, we kind of have to have a good picture. And that's why we're doing this map analysis right now. All right, so let's zoom in a little bit on the map to the Indiana area. So this is happening closer to Louisville than to Indianapolis. This is southern Indiana where this is happening. And if we're going to zoom in even closer, we can see that this location of the suitcase, which is right here on the map for everyone, is basically part of the New Pekin area. So this is the town of New Pekin, and I think the place where the suitcase was located, the boy inside of the suitcase was located, is still within the New Pekin area within Indiana. Alright, so as we're recording, I literally just wanted to jump to the Wikipedia page of New Pekin as well, really quickly, just to give a better overview. So New Pekin has, the population is quite small. There's only 1,300 residents living there, according, to the population estimates of 2020. It seems like a small town in southern Indiana. Now, the one interesting thing to mention is, the boy is black. So once again, it's probably interesting for us to see how many people are black. Let's look at the demographics, at least on the 2010. So this is a little bit outdated, but at least at 2010, we can see that, there were 8,400 people living there. And most of them are white, as we can see. 97% of inhabitants of New Pekin are white. And there's only, let's see, African Americans is less than 1%. There is only 0.6% of African Americans living in New Pekin, at least in 2010, if I understand this correctly. So this would mean that this little boy was definitely out of place because the area is definitely heavily white, which would probably indicate to us that maybe he was definitely not from New Pekin. And obviously if he was, he would have been, someone would have missed him. So he was definitely out of town, let's put it this way, if that makes any sense. The boy was found in the property of a man called Jeff Meredith. The suitcase was found in Jeff Meredith's property. Let's zoom in a little bit, because this is a very strange place to leave a suitcase with a... Well, obviously there isn't a good place to leave a suitcase with a dead child inside of the suitcase, but this is definitely a weird place, because as we can see from the map, it seems like wherever the suitcase was placed, it's literally in the middle of nowhere. It's just in some wooded road, and it almost seems like you would have to know where you're going. There are no major roadways. For anyone who's listening to the podcast, well, there is this, I guess, a little bit major roadway. It's Road 160, but it's definitely, and there's another one, Road 60, but it's in the middle of the wooded areas. It does seem like it's a very, very specific place to me. When I was looking at the map, I was very shocked to actually see this location, because I was like, yo, this is a very wooded, very white area, very specific white area, and there's this suitcase with a little black boy inside of it. It was bizarre. Oh, once again, some map stuff. Technical difficulties, don't mind this, guys. Now we're looking at the location a little bit closer. Now I'm gonna outline. I believe this is the property. I'm pretty sure this is Jeff Meredith property, the man who found the body. Apparently he was mushroom hunting on April 16th, and he found the body. Now, one interesting thing to note, that according to my analysis, which is basically based on a news clip where Jeff kind of vaguely waves his hand in one direction, and I was kind of thinking, okay, so you found the body there. So this is that analysis of that video clip led me to believe that this was the location where the suitcase was placed. Now, news media have their own map on their news clips, and they state that it was found somewhere here, in this direction. We're gonna jump to a few more map assets very shortly, so just, a little confusion. I guess it doesn't really make any difference, because it doesn't matter if it was here, or if the suitcase was here. It's still in the middle of nowhere, and it seems like the road actually ends. Here. So whomever drove, my first thought was, let's say someone drove down this road, dropped the body off somewhere here. Let's also remember the fact that the suitcase was found 80 feet off the road, so very close to the road. It was only like 24 meters away from the road. And so whomever was driving here, it seemed to me that they must have driven to this location, placed the suitcase, and then after doing that, they probably had to drive out, which is a pretty risky move, and seemed very bizarre as well, to be honest. And if we're gonna zoom out just a little bit, this is Weather's funeral home in the town of Salam. I believe this is where the body was, where they had the ceremony just a few days ago. It was on the 1st. And if we're going to zoom out a little bit more, the other point we have in the map analysis is Hampton in Virginia. It's close to Norfolk, so it's in a whole different state, in the state of Virginia, and this is where Cody Bixby vanished from. And let's remember, Cody Bixby is another child who is black. He's around the same age, and he's also missing. Law enforcement said they believe that Cody Bixby is definitely not the boy in the suitcase, though. So, I looked a little into it a little bit. I'll still talk a little bit about it soon. At this point, I actually want to go over a few clips I found. So I found some interesting clips and I cut them up a little bit. So this first clip is just basically for us to get a better picture of the timeline. This was from one of the news stations. Once again, really hope this won't be copyrights, right? Okay, let's play.
When I first saw that little feller.
Oops, this was not it. Sorry, that was the other one. This is the one that I'm talking about. So this is the timeline. Let's listen in.
Saturday, April 16th, a man police identified as a mushroom hunter finds a boy dead around 7:30 that night. We found out the next day, April 17th, when Indiana State Police held this press conference.
Somebody knows something.
Monday, April 18th, ISP sets up a national tip line for the case, getting 200 calls in one day. But none of them are the call they hoped for. So Tuesday, April 19th, authorities confirm rumors and release this photo, a distinct suitcase the boy was found inside of. They also released the exact location for the first time, and it is the last time we got an official update from police. Days later, on Sunday, April 23rd, neighbors in Washington County decided to do something, a vigil, praying for the boy's identity to be revealed, saying he's one of them now. 4 more days go by before the man who found that boy tells me he's ready to speak on April 28th.
The little boy deserves to be respected.
Yeah, and so this is basically the timeline, I guess, just for us to have a better idea of, the days after the discovery of the suitcase. Now let's listen to what Jeff Meredith had to say to the media. This is the man who made the discovery in his property.
When I first saw that little feller, immediately I felt that he was telling me, help me. I need help.
It was late that Saturday. Jeff Meredith was out in the woods of his property looking for mushrooms.
And I decided to cross over and mushroom hunt on this side here.
So, sorry for pausing here, guys, but I feel like I have to mention this. This is the point that made me think that I found where the suitcase was located, because if we're going to be going back a little bit in this clip, Jeff will wave his hand a little bit, and just pay attention to maybe his, like, I would say left hand.
Over and mushroom hunt.
See, like he
on this side here.
Okay, so I know this is probably retarded sounding for people who are listening to this on the apps, but this is not going to take long, I promise.
And I come up on the body.
The body of a boy in a suitcase 80 feet off the road. Jeff.
See, okay, this is what I'm talking about. So really quickly, I want to highlight a few things in this particular shot. So the Jeff and the reporter, they were walking from this direction, and somewhere as they were walking, Jeff pointed towards this direction right here with that little hand wave, if you can recall, that we just saw shortly ago. And I was thinking to myself, let me locate where this is the location where Jeff was waving his hand, and one of the things that helps us locate where exactly this X is on the Google map, because I don't know if it holds a lot of relevancy for us, but we're trying to do as detailed of a map analysis here as possible, if that makes some sense. So let's look at these trees right here. Let's look at these trees right here in the distance, and then let's look at this road, and let's see that this is where the road ends, and this looks like a corner, right? This looks like the road is now turning into some sort of a corner, and the road substance, the ground layer of the road becomes some sort of gravel. So let's keep this in mind. Let's quickly jump to the map, and let's try to see where exactly is this. So remember that tree line? Well, this is the tree line. This is the open space next to the tree line that we've seen, and this is the corner. So as Jeff and the reporter, as they were walking down this road, Jeff kind of indicated that he saw the body, the suitcase, somewhere here. That's why I made the assessment that this is where the body was located. So just wanted to explain my reasoning. Let's continue on with the recording.
Thought to call police, but he told me he'd feel like a fool if they got there and it was just a suitcase, so he opened it.
It's wrong. God, is it wrong? In every way. It bothers me, but it ain't about me. It's about that little boy that they threw away like a piece of trash. That's what bothers me worse than anything in the world, because I've got 5 grandbabies. He deserves to have a name, Just like you and I, we've got a name, and we want a name put on our stone after we're gone. And he deserves that. So if anybody out there knows anything, please come forward. Because that little 5-year-old boy needs you now more than ever to give him his dignity back to him.
Yeah, so Jeff is definitely a very nice person, and I don't suspect Jeff to be anyhow, way or shape involved in this situation, obviously. Just wanted to throw that out. He seems like a genuine guy. I don't know, guys. Maybe you think differently, but he seems like he's a really good guy right here. The last clip that I would like to play is of a woman from the general neighborhood and her take on the whole situation.
It's a lot of stuff to process.
The boy found just off their road.
I mean, in our little community, something dramatic, so sorry. I can't imagine putting a child in a suitcase and just tossing them on the side of the road.
Neighbors here say they're nervous to speak out, but feel compelled to give a voice to the kid.
I'd like to know a name. I don't know why that means so much to me. Everybody has a name. It's a lot.
So this is a woman and her account, and she's from the neighborhood, and she's very distraught, and seems like the whole neighborhood was hit very hard. From all of the research that I've done, everyone feels very awful in the neighborhood about what's happening here. I definitely didn't get the sense that this is maybe like the Tamla Horsford case, where some people think there could be like this bad reputation in the town. This town seems a-okay, at least at first glance, to me. All right, so let's move through the rest of the things that I've prepared to talk about this week. And I was on the Google Earth map. On the app. When I say that I was on the Google Earth app, not on the Google Earth on the website, basically for those of you who do not know, and you probably should know at this point that I like doing map stuff. When I look at cases, I feel like it's very important to do some good map analysis. Each time you investigate a case, because it definitely paints a better picture, and I feel like that's what a lot of podcasts are actually lacking, and they don't really get to go really deep into these cases. the app is the thing that you actually download on your computer, and has a very cool tool that the website Google Earth, the website Google Earth doesn't have, and that's the feature to go back in time. And now I went back in time. I'm not really sure to which time on the map, but just to look at the area where the suitcase was found. And the reason for doing that was very simple, because let's quickly jump to the website version. So this is the most recent satellite image. And as we can see, it's heavily wooded. The whole area is covered with woods, and you can barely make any outlines of any roads. But actually, let me jump really quickly to this is the Google Earth app right here. So this is the software that you download. It's also free, so everyone can have it. As you can see, I went back in time to 2017, and in this particular satellite footage, we can see an outline. So we can definitely see that a few things that we can see in the 2017 satellite footage that we can't see in the most recent one. And come on, stop it, Google Earth. The first thing we can see is that the road seems to be going more, like the road is longer than in the latest satellite footage for sure. And so if we can look at we now have this new perspective that there is a road. The satellite footage from 2017 kind of indicates that there is a road. I guess this kind of paints a little bit of a better picture of what was the route taken by whomever dropped off the suitcase. Since it was close to a roadway, I heavily suspect that the suitcase was left by someone or multiple people who were driving a car. Now, I have no idea how they got to this particular point where, they left the suitcase, and I'm not gonna speculate too much because, yeah, it's still hard for me to understand fully how they could have ended up in this wooded area in the middle of nowhere, in a very white neighborhood, to say the least, but I guess it's just an additional perspective. Now, let's actually jump back to the initial asset that I was showing, and it was this. So I went, as I've said earlier, I went to the application, to the software that you download, and I've done a little measurement here to estimate how far of a distance on the map 80 feet away from the road really is. So the yellow line that you can see right now on this screenshot actually indicates 80 feet, as you can see in the measurements right here as well. So now, once again, news media believes, or at least according to their map, the suitcase was found somewhere here. And according to my logic, and I've already explained it, the suitcase was found somewhere here. So once again, it's a very weird place to dump a body. This got me thinking, why even leave the body in the suitcase? If you want to get rid of it, want to leave it in a heavily white neighborhood in southern Indiana, it's gonna get located. Why don't you just dig a hole? Why do you not bury the body? It's a 5-year-old body. It's not that big of a body to bury. Why put it in a suitcase in the first place? I found that very bizarre, and the reasoning was very unclear for sure. I believe there are better ways to get rid of a body. Because clearly this was an attempt to discard of a body in one way or another. And this is another screenshot that I took from the news media clip, and we can see that they have the placement of the suitcase a little bit different. This is their placement, and my placement was a little bit around this location right here. Maybe they have some insider information. I mean, they did talk to Jeff, who was the landowner, so I would assume the guy probably told him where exactly he found the suitcase, and the police probably also told the media. So maybe we should go with the media, but just my 2 cents, I guess. We're looking at the image right now, the picture of the suitcase that has the "To Fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada" sign on top of it. It's a fucking creepy suitcase for sure. And I could just imagine the scene. I could just picture the scene. Jeff walking in the back of his yard, trying to find some mushrooms, and he sees this. Oh man. It's dark. These are the few images that I found online from news articles. This is apparently the location where the suitcase was found. And we have this image as well, and they seem to be very different two images. And in the credits of both of these two pictures, it said that this is where the suitcase was found. So is it here or is it here? You know what I mean? These are two completely different areas photographed, and the articles are stating that this is where the suitcase was found. So once again, you know what I mean? Not really sure exactly where the suitcase was located. This is from the Telegraph or something like that. I think it was the UK news outlet, and you can tell that the points in the map and everything like that. I think this is that UK, the Telegraph, I forgot, whatever. Map, and they also show the location of the suitcase, in accordance to the other media outlets where they show that the suitcase was found. So once again, probably I got it incorrectly, but it doesn't really change anything, right? I don't think it changes anything. This is on Facebook. I found this on Facebook. So the Washington County, Indiana Sheriff's Department, they made a post. I'm just gonna quickly read it. A memorial service has been scheduled for 11 a.m. on Wednesday, June 1st, to honor the life of the unidentified young boy whose body was found in April. The service will be at Weathers Funeral Home at 106 Shelby Street, Salem, Indiana. If you are unable to attend, you can watch via live stream on Weathers or WSLM Facebook pages, which is pretty interesting that they actually live streamed this event as well. Let's talk a little bit about the connection of Cody Bigsby, the little boy that I talked a little bit earlier about. So I went on Missing and Exploited Children. It's basically missingkids.org. And on that website, you can actually make a search, and you could search by different criteria to find missing children. And obviously, when people heard about this boy found in a suitcase situation, they definitely went to this website and they made the search. And we can see 4 kids. We can see, according to the search results. And let's see what kind of search results I was looking for. So I was looking for kids that are missing basically from January 1st of 2022. So basically from the start of this year to, the 6th of June. The 4th of June. So basically up to today, from ages 4 to 8, male, meaning a boy, race is black, and there nothing else, right? So when you do the search, you will find 4 kids missing. Now, the main walker is age 7, so I believe he's a little bit older to be part of this. Jackson Page and Justice Page, they're actually, I believe, brothers and twins. They look like twins. I don't know. It wasn't really reported that. I mean, there's only one boy found in the suitcase. So where's the other if that's the case, right? And then we have Cody Bigsby right here. This is Cody, the same kid that I talked a little bit earlier. Now, I'll be honest. I didn't look into too much of Cody Bigsby's case. But I will present a little bit of information, just a little bit. But on the Missing and Exploited Children, that organization, we can see that, this kid, Cody Bigsby, is missing since January 31st. Let's remember that the unidentified kid in our case that we have been talking about was found in April 16th. So I guess it would make sense, timeline-wise, this kid goes missing January 31st. Someone stashes his body in the suitcase and it's discovered on April 16th. I mean, even like from the timeline perspective, it makes sense. Where it doesn't make sense is the height, because the height of Cody Bigsby was 3 foot. And the unidentified boy is 4 foot in height. The ages also don't really match up. I believe they were able to estimate the age range of the missing boy from the unidentified boy in the suitcase, probably based to the dental records, because I believe the dental records are a very good source of information when you're trying to estimate a child's age. Otherwise, it would kind of match up, right? Now, the backstory about Cody Bigsby is interesting. This is basically the newest update in his case. It says, it's been more than 100 days since 4-year-old Cody Bigsby disappeared in Hampton, and there's still been no sight of him. And then Corey Bigsby, Cody's father, reported him missing in January. Now, Corey says he last saw his son around 2 a.m. on January 31st in their home. Now, I might need to investigate and leave a comment in the comment section of the YouTube channel if you think that I should investigate Cody Bigsby's disappearance. I didn't have the time. The only thing that I will tell you right now is that Corey Bigsby, according to my quick research online, is probably the main person of interest. The father is the main person of interest. I believe there was some sort of a confusion where he left his kids. He has multiple kids. I think he has 3 kids, but I could be mistaken. He left them unaccounted for, and then Cody disappeared and the father is being investigated. I'm not going to talk about it too much because I don't know, honestly, didn't have the time to research, but this is Cody's situation. I made this little, I guess, comparison between Cody and the boy in the suitcase. So we can see that the height and the age, they don't really match up, but the timeline matches up. So once again, I personally don't think that Cody is the boy in the suitcase, because law enforcement said that he's not, and they're not looking in that direction at all. And also the age and the height do not add up. But I don't know, if you disagree, guys, definitely leave a comment, and maybe there is something to this connection. To top it off, as tradition by now, I would like to jump to a few Reddit posts. I think it's important to look at Reddit when you're researching a case, because sometimes there are like gems in Reddit that you don't really pick up anywhere else, and it gives you a whole different perspective regarding a mystery, or just a viewpoint that you could take. Oh, I have no idea what I just said. Probably didn't make any sense, but we are now looking at the comment from Barry Blue. And he said they were able to extract the boy's DNA, but it didn't seem to lead anywhere. Wonder what would happen if they ran it through one of the DNA ancestry sites. Might find a connection. There's a bunch of people in the comments also suggesting it as well. And then this post from Oakwood2317 really fucked me up. Let's just put it that way. Like, I was like, oh god damn, because he says, if you know or suspect something, someone say something. Don't let this little boy become the next little boy in the box. And then we can jump to the Wikipedia. Yo, there is that whole mystery with the boy in the box. I'm pretty sure some of you guys definitely are aware of this one. I think this is something I want to investigate and maybe like make some content about it, because I think it's interesting and I don't think everyone is like fully aware of what's happening here. Really quickly, the boy in the box is an unidentified murder victim, a 3 to 7-year-old boy whose naked, battered body was found on the side of Susquehanna Road in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on February 25, 1957. He appeared to have been cleaned and freshly groomed, just like the boy in the suitcase, with a haircut and trimmed fingernails, although he had been severely beaten, bruised, and malnourished. So this is the difference. Boy in the suitcase apparently did not have any physical injuries. Continuing on with the boy in the box description, the body was covered with scars, some of which were surgical, most notably on his ankles, groin, and chin. It is believed that the cause of death was homicide by blunt force trauma, and he has never been identified for 65 years, 3 months, and 9 days. And I was thinking to myself, oh my God, please, I really hope this is not gonna be like that. I really hope this is not gonna be the boy in the box story. It's already been a couple of months. This happened in April. Okay, guys, yo, just to give a perspective, like we're literally going into the boy in the box range here. I really hope that ISP is not smoking that weed and they're actually like on it. I really hope that ISP is gonna get down to it, because I was thinking to myself, God damn, this would suck ass if this actually became just another boy in the box story, you know? The boy was around 5 years of age, so he probably wasn't going to school and probably is not reported missing by any educational institution by now. Also, I'm getting a vibe of major child negligence in this case. The autopsy revealed that the boy most likely died from an electrolyte imbalance caused by viral gastroenteritis, otherwise known as the stomach flu. Could he have gotten sick and was neglected by his parents? And once it was realized that he was not gonna make it, or it was too late and he had died, his body was placed in the suitcase and dumped in the woods. He was wearing clothes and he was apparently clean when he was found inside of the suitcase. There was no significant traumatic injuries, meaning there was no anatomical cause of death. The boy was also found inside of a hard-shell suitcase with a distinctive Las Vegas design on its front and back. Does the suitcase mean that whomever placed the suitcase in Jeff Meredith property was actually coming from Vegas or had been to Vegas? Or is there some sort of a connection to Vegas in general? Or could this be just a random suitcase and it has no connection to Las Vegas? I think it's definitely too hard to tell at this point. Police said that the boy died at least up to a week before the suitcase was discovered. This would probably place the time of death at around April 10th. No one seems to be missing a child. No one came forward, yo, that's our child. To me, this indicates that the people the people who placed the suitcase in Jeff's property are actually his legal guardians or somehow responsible for taking care of him. Because if this was just some sort of an abduction, someone would have came forward, yo, we lost a 5-year-old kid and this is probably our kid, and they would have connected the dots because this is a nationwide case. So the connection would have been made. So I believe his legal guardians, if I could call them that way, are responsible for this. Police said to the media that they had received thousands of calls so far, but still haven't been able to identify the boy. I do wonder what kind of tips are being called in. I assume people are calling about local abusive households with kids around the same age and similar descriptions, or about people who own similar suitcases. Because let's remember, the suitcase is very distinctive. Maybe the suitcase will help us break the case. The suitcase was also found near a roadway. To me, this suggests that whomever placed the suitcase where they placed it probably does not live in a close proximity and tried to get some distance between their living quarters and the suitcase. This brings up the question of why even leave the body in the suitcase in the first place? Why not bury the body somewhere else? Could this mean that digging a hole and burying the body is too much work for the culprit or culprits? If so, what does that say to us about the possible culprits? And I'm asking these questions to you guys, because I have no idea. They have DNA of the unidentified boy from the suitcase. I really hope that this DNA will provide us some answers, and this is not gonna be another boy in the box situation. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up for this week's show. Let me know what you think about this situation with the boy in the suitcase. Leave your thoughts in the comment section of the YouTube channel. I will see you on the next week's case, and until then, please stay safe and enjoy the rest of the week.